Hello, everyone. It's Sunday night, and I have a big question. People have been talking about silver being scarce all year long for a couple years now. Well, that's my question for everyone. How scarce is it? How hard is it for you to find any kind of silver? Not just these Morgans stuff, but I mean like Barber half dollars or JFKs, Benjamins, Walkers. How hard has it been for you to find any of this kind of stuff? And are you able to find seated Liberty coins much? It's truly scarce. It should be hard to find this stuff. But I'm not finding it to be all that hard, and I will show you why. Because all this silver on the table here, and this stack, half dollars, it's all been bought this year. Now, it's quite a bit, but it's not all that I've bought. Now, for this treasure chest challenge, I'm going to go ahead and reveal the coins. This is all in it, and this is all in it. I'm going to go ahead and put this and this back into these tubes because I need to make room to show what I got. So bear with me for a moment. While I get this stuff put away. Now, most of these dollar coins are damaged or worn or something's wrong. They're not. They're like coal coins, basically, or even worse than coal. Now, somebody asked in one of my videos how much I paid for these. Now, all these slick ones here, this one was $18. The date's gone. I don't know about you, it's got an estimate, but I don't know about you. If you can get a Morgan dollar, even dateless like this one is, and we ping, just hear that ringing for a long time, that's 90% silver. All this is. Now, all these other ones in this, they have dates generally. They're slick around the edges. They're losing the rims. All of them, other than that one without the date, they were $20 a piece. And that's my answer I told the guy in the comments. And the guy who sold me all of these has one more of them at his shop that I'm going to get later. And he's got a few more walkers too. Now that I got this tube back in the tube, we'll show this bag. Knocked one of these copper coins off, one of the half penny off the table on the side over here. I probably need to get an envelope or something. In this is probably about $30 or $40 face value of various dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Now, this whole year, it's been strange because quite a few Benjamins, a lot of Walkers, almost no 64 Kennedys. I think I got 5 total ones all year long. Every time I've seen them at the shop, they've already been sold or spoken for. I was just lucky to get a few. Now, these, if you go online and search eBay, it's a dateless standing Liberty quarter. Last time I checked, people were usually asking about $8 a piece for these, and you had to buy a lot of 8 or something. Well, the guy who is a jeweler coin dealer. I told him what I wanted. I asked him if he had any of that kind of stuff and what he would sell, if he could, and he dug up some. He found about $3 or $4 face real quick. And that one's another dateless one. Because what I did is I went in, thanks, Mulan. I went in to his shop and asked him if I told him what they advertised him as. Deplorable condition, dateless, standing liberty, quarters. And he said he probably could find some. He's probably found me, I'm guessing, $15 face value of these that are like this, including 3 of them that were type 1s, which kind of pulled from this and replaced with other quarters because for the treasure chest challenge, I want any of those kind of coins to be held separately. And I don't want to mix them in because it'd be a lot of trouble finding them. Now, that's probably $30 face. But this one's probably nearly 60. Oh, it's loaded. It's loaded with the same kind of coins. There's a lot for a small handful. If there is a such thing. Now, again, walkers. I got this one looks slightly polished. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. Wasn't terrible. Well, I know it was polished. I mean, look how shiny that is compared to this one, which is about what it should be. This old stuff to not be polished, it has to look like this. Now I got a lot of mercury dimes in here. Most of them have dates. Most of them were bought for early in the year for about $205, I think was the cheapest, $210 each, up to about $220 tops. There's some more Standing Liberty coins. Carving. Oh, funny you should mention carving. This wasn't actually carved, but when I first saw it, I thought it was. And I'm here to tell you, this was actually carved. Someone's got some talents, but it isn't. It's not even an actual real piece dollar. It kind of looks real, and it weighs near what it probably should with part of the coin gone to do this, but it's not silver. And you can tell as soon as it pings. Give me a 50-cent piece like this. Wow, that's high pitch. Should sound like this Morgan dollar. Lower, long ring. And that's the other test you can do is if you have a piece of ice. Now, let me pull all this way. Oh, there's Roosevelt times in here. Generally, these are even cheaper than the Mercuries usually. There's not much love for them. In fact, if I wanted to sell some, my dealer mentioned that he'd pay yesterday when I was talking to him about it, he might pay $1.90 for most of these. There really is no key dates for them. I think he said $2.30 for Mercuries that have the full rim in date. Some of these aren't. Now, I don't know what he'd pay for something like a barber coin. This one's got a particularly deep nick right in the eye. And then there's the JFK. These have been hard to find this year. I mean, I've only been able to buy 5 total. And this is a D mint, which is right there. You can see the Denver mint mark right there. But let's see if there's a barber quarter in here. I know I have some, but actually there is. Well, since it's pretty much dateless. And someone wanted to carve on a coin, this would probably be a good pick because it's never going to be worth more than the silver it's made out of. And I don't know what in the heck happened to this 64 Roosevelt, but looks like someone took a magic marker to it. I'm not sure if there's any other barbers in this handful. We'll just leave it sit right here for the moment. I'll grab a little bit more out of the big bag. A different handful. Lay them out. There's another barber quarter. This one's a 1907. No mint marks. It's Philadelphia. All right, I got this one for $1. It's a Roosevelt that looks like someone almost tried to cut it in half. Maybe they didn't have enough hand strength. I don't know, but it's pretty well butchered. 42. That's an S-mint, so it's a little bit better coin. Early S-mint ones are lower mintages than Denver or Philly typically. That's a 39. But remarkably enough, today I was digging through my change and saw this. Oh, I dropped it. But there it is. We'll pull this date up for you. And you'll see this is a 1963. And it's a Denver, and the D-mint mark is right here on these. On the back, right by that, right above my thumb, next to the middle torch. I'll hold it this way. That's a middle torch, and there's the D. So I got this in my change today, which I gotta make a separate video for it, but it's gonna go in my treasure chest with all this other stuff. Because stuff got in change is as cheap as silver you're gonna get. Because basically I got that in change, so it's a dime. I have a dime in it. This 48 Benjamin has a kind of a weird toning to it. It's kind of brownish tan, real light, real subtle. It's different. But I got a lot of these, a lot of walkers. That's a 46 last year, Philadelphia. But what else is in here to show? I wonder if there's another barber buried. Well, there's that one that was dateless. And there was another one in here, the 1907. I got about 6 or 7 of these in this, including one that has a really deep scratch across the face. But what we're going to go ahead and do is pick this handful up and move it out of the way and put it back in the bag. And show the bag and it's filled up. So you can get an idea of how much. All this stuff was bought this year, by the way. Or in the case of the 2 dimes this year, I found that are silver and change. They weren't really bought, they were just found. But that qualifies them for this, because when we entered into this treasure chest challenge, New Silver Stacker and I, and a couple other people joined along the way, we stipulated that, or at least I did, that it had to be bought this year. So this bag is, it's hard to get a good sense of how thick this is with silver. But there's a lot of silver in this. A lot of quarters, a lot of halves, a lot of dimes. I'm saying it's probably $50, maybe $60 face in this. It's got some heft, a lot of weight. Well, how much is $50 face in actual silver? Well, there's a formula for that. $1.40 of that 90% equals 1 ounce. I said it's about $50. Turn on $50. The other way to figure is to take 0.715. Whoops. Hold on. 50 times 0.715, which is what they say the amount of silver is per dollar face. It's kind of accepted by most stackers and people who deal with silver, who are basically buying stuff that doesn't carry much of a premium. Well, anyway, that's 35 3/4 ounces of silver, roughly. Of the 17 Morgan dollars I had in peace dollars, it's a different amount. It's 0.7735, I think it is, somewhere in there of silver per. Well, I don't have to guess. That's what we got books for. Let's see if we can see where it says how much. It's 77344 for $1. So I'm pretty close. We'll change that. 0.7734 times 17. A couple of them are slick real bad, so this says that was 13 ounces. We'll take off probably about half an ounce because some of them are very slick and stuff. So you got that. It's a tremendous amount of silver between those two bags and the $half in that tube in the dollar coins. So to me, if I can get that much, and I could have got more if I spent more, but if you can get silver in that kind of numbers, $1's face most every week this year, plus some weeks I got more. If you can get that much silver, then it's not exactly totally scarce. Now, let's see if I can get this book to sit here without making a big problem. I almost wants to shove this thing off. Let's go ahead and move these two for now so I don't break these coin glass things. They weren't cheap either. One's green, olive green, and the other one is amber. Almost looks red with that red behind it though, but it's actually a yellowish color. Anyway, we'll move both of these out of the way so I don't break them. And I can open up the red book without worrying about knocking something off the table that could break. Now, standing liberties. Opened it right to the standing liberties. Now, the type 1, let's move this. You can see it. No stars underneath the eagle. That's the quickest way to tell if it's a type 1. If it's a type 2, one will have 3 stars underneath the eagle right above $1/4. Certain one of these are pretty expensive, like the 1916, but they only made 52,000. This is a 2018 edition I got for $1 at a flea marketplace. So it's like not very expensive. But this thing covers all the different types of coins. The federal issues, it says half cents, large cents, small cents, 2-cent piece, 3-cent piece, nickel 5 cents, half dimes, 20-cent, quarters, halves, silver and related dollars, and then it goes on to the gold. It covers some of the bullion and some of the other ones that were from other countries, not other countries, but the territories and stuff. Now, the Spanish milled dollar, this was the first dollar coins in the United States because there's a lot of that was very accepted around the world for the amount of silver it was as a dollar, and people, back then a dollar was a lot. So they traded in the States early on before we ever had our own mints, before we were even a country, actually. But then it talks about them here too. Keep turning through this and you get to the colonial issues. But if you can find a red book a couple years old or something like this one is, you can get it for $1. It's well worth buying. There's a lot of information in this book, although the prices are a little outdated. What the coin is and the pictures of the coin aren't outdated. And all these older coins, the ones that tell you how much were minted, which most of these they don't, because I don't know if anybody really knows. Oh, look at that ship. It's on our halfpenny. Well, what halfpenny is it? This is Liverpool. This is post-colonial issue on the page. We'll get into the part where get out of these and you start getting into the half cents, which I don't think I have any half cents, none that old anyway. If I do, I have half pennies that a British issue like this with Queen Elizabeth on it. Keep forgetting when you're handling British coins, they turn this way. They don't flip like ours. When you're used to flipping them all the time because you're looking at mostly US coins, it kind of throws you for a bit. And you get large cents, and our large cents are very big. Approximate diameter 29 millimeters. That's a big coin. Pull down the ruler. Centimeters 29 to put it about here. So our old pennies weren't quite as big as this Mexican coin, which is 30 millimeters, 31, maybe 32. Trying to find one that's about 29. That's about 28. It's about the size of this one. Original large penny US coins. I have one, but it's not handy. And it's worn out real bad. You can kind of make out the date on it. It's like 1817, I think, which would be the matron head one up there. But yeah, you get into the small cents, the stuff that most everybody sees. You don't see the flying eagle one too much, though. I got a couple examples, but they're put away right at the moment. Then you have the Indian heads, and then you get some of these are very valuable. Some of these earlier ones, like the 73 doubled Liberty, $200, and it might be higher today. It's hard telling. This is a 4-year-old book. Not very many of the wheat pennies are real expensive, except for the 1909 VDB for sure. Then there's a few random ones that are somewhat expensive. The 14D. Says something about $200 for a good 4. So 31S, $60 for a good 4. So those are the ones. That's how you tell you're really hard to find coins. You just look at this coin guide. You look at the mintage. You can see some of them were rather large numbers. But you go down that price list until you hit one that says $40 or something at good 4, or 60 like that one did. That's your key dates. $9 for 26S is a semi-key date, probably. But you start saying $60. 1931S, there was only 866,000 minted. So yeah, And the 55 double die, if someone says they have one, better look like that. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that. Maybe I can get this on here. That ain't gonna work. Not like that anyway. But the 55 double die, it's clearly doubled. It's not minor either. You go through all the other small cents into the modern ones, none of them are really worth much. 1990 proof, no S, 3,800. Well, I got proved wrong. That one's expensive, but it's a proof coin. You should never find that in change or anything. It says no S too. And proof cents are very shiny compared to, well, there's one right there. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell. It's got a real dark background and frosty top surface, and that's a normal one. Circulation strike. They're radically different. You would never mistake a proof penny for anything else. You go into nickels. The war nickels are interesting. They made them for 3 years, 42, 43, 44, 40. Well, actually 4 calendar years. They're not terribly valuable. Most of them you see are been circulated. Some of the ones that are like extra fine or AU are pretty nice. None of them are super expensive. AU 50 ones, the 43p with a 3/2, that's an error coin, is 165. And of the ones that aren't any weird doubling or whatever, AU 50 ones run around $3 to $4. Even at mint state, 63. According to this, none of them top $12. 65 ones, one hits 30. Of course, them doubles and stuff in the 3/2 get in the hundreds, but that happens too. We go back through this a little bit, and you get to the seated liberties, which I've been buying a lot of seated liberty coins lately, dimes, in quarters when I can find them, in $half. I like the design. You ever see one of the first year ones? There's absolutely no stars on that thing. Come on, focus. Doesn't want to focus on this book very well until I get about here, and then it's hard to see the design. It's not working out quite the way I want, but it's in 1937, of which they made 682,000. There's a large date and a small date. Not much price difference on them, but good for. This says they're $45 or $50 coins, so they're pricey. Now, you get barber dimes. There's a few of them in here that are real valuable because the 94S one, you're not ever going to see it out in the wild. That says the mintage of 24, and proof, I guess it's a proof, PF 64. Well, over $1.5 million coin in October of 2007. A lot of the Mercury dimes, there's only a couple really good years that are the 21 and 21D, just over $1 million, and the 1916D, which only 264,000 were made. Not likely to get them and change. This says the 26S is a $13 coin at good, 4.5 million made. That's the reason it's a little bit lower mintage. The 31D says 1.26 million, so that one's a little bit. By the time you get to 40s, almost all of them are in 40 million range, PD or S. And then the Roosevelt dimes, no big love for any of them. They made tens of millions at the least amount. Extra fine $2 for most of them. So they're not too many of them are really worth much, unless they're even mint state ones aren't worth a heck of a lot. This book's saying $12 for a lot of them. That's mint state 65, by the way. That's hard to find one that high. Then you get into seated Liberty 20-cent pieces. You won't see them very often either. They only made them from 1875 to 1876, and then this says something about 77 and 78, but there's no mintage even given. They're thousands of dollars per coin, so you're probably never going to see them those years anyway. And you get in the quarters. Seated Liberty ones, good for. It says most of them should be $25 to $30 range. There's a few of them that are in more expensive, but if you're going to buy some, expect to pay at least that much. Some of these through the 1860s, they did not make very many of them up until, you're talking 16, 18,000, 20,000. Almost none of them in that date range. And some of these other ones from 64 and stuff, they just did not make very many coins then. A lot less people in the nation. Barbers. The 1896S, 188,000. That's a good for. That's a hard coin to find. But yeah, you can sit and look through these for ages. Then they go to the modern ones, which they do make some of them in silver proofs. They're probably, if they're silver, they're worth a little bit more, but we're on the $50. Go buy some of the early ones because you ain't going to hardly ever see them. Even if you probably won't be able to afford them. Most people I know couldn't buy those. Get to the seated ones, good for ones, say $40 for a lot of them. So they won't be real cheap either. And there are some rather expensive ones, even at good for. 1870 Carson City, 1750 at good for. Well, Carson Cities are hard to come by too. Then you get off to your other more well-known, the barber halves. Some of these old mint ones, pretty low mintage. The Orleans Mint 1905 O is 500,000 coins. That's not very many. That's why some of these are rather expensive. And then, the Walking Liberty. Most of them are, a couple of the early ones are really expensive, but most of them aren't a whole lot. $9 to $12 range for a lot of them. Kennedy's $11, mint state 60. See, they have to be mint state to even have much value. Otherwise, it's mainly determined by their silver content. And they don't go up real high. Mint state 65, this book says $20. So Kennedy's are good for stackers because they don't carry a premium over the silver too much. Then you get to the dollars. My jeweler, coin dealer, says he'd like to get a lot. He thinks these seated Liberty ones should be a lot more collectible because they didn't make very many of them, but also makes them a lot more expensive. Now, this is the design they were thinking about doing early on. That doesn't have any stars on it, and it has that flying eagle design. They got rid of the stars in the back, put them on the front. I think it cleaned up the design a little bit. These are just test coins. They never made any of those to speak of. This doesn't even say how many they made, although they do give you prices. And ain't none of these cheap coins. But the regular ones, the business strike ones, you're talking about coins that made 20,000 of some years. I see 7,500 for the 1850 Philadelphia. That's very few coins. The 1851, 1,300 coins. You're not going to find them. There's only a few years where they made significant numbers. 1860, 1869, 1870, and 71 and 72. The Philadelphia ones were pretty high numbers minted. The 1860 says 500,000 of them were minted, 515. Then you get into trade dollars. You don't see them very often. They didn't make them very long, and the 1885 proof one is 5 known. It's a $2 million coin. Then you get into everybody's favorite, the Morgan. And a lot of them are not real expensive at, good up to very fine range. There are a few key dates that all you have to do is look at the higher prices, even at the lower or the low mintage Carson City ones. Like the 1889 Carson City says $350, $1,250 a good for very fine 20. But the 93S is the lowest mintage of all of them, 100,000, very expensive coin. And peace dollars, most of them weren't real low minages except the 1928 Philadelphia, 366,000. But $275 at very fine 20. It's an expensive coin, even worn, just lightly worn. Then the Ikes and stuff. Well, that's enough of this. None of the rest of these are going to be anything most people collect. All right. Where were we? Well, yeah, this 63D dime, I'm going to have to make a video for it. But that's my big question for everybody. How hard is it for you to find, U.S. constitutional or junk silver in the coin shops lately? Well, if you can buy large amounts like these 2 bags of loose coins, I'm here to tell you it's not super low or scarce. Scarce, I wouldn't have been able to buy this. Not that much. It's heavy. But anyway, I'm hoping that you all have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream, and we'll see you next time.